guys. I actually didn't really plan for this video, but I still wanted to sit down and chat and say hi, reconnect, and kind of do a bit of a mid-year check-in. Figured it'd be fun to go over all the books that I've read this year and also movies I've been watching this year and some general thoughts about creativity and art. Those things have been changing a lot for me, and I thought it'd be fun to talk about it. This has actually been a pretty slow year for me in terms of books read. I have only read 7 books so far, so probably a book a month, which is way less than it has ever been. It's been a crazy year, so I feel like it's valid. Definitely caused me to feel a little behind, I guess. I feel like I am getting more out of my reading and I'm doing more thinking when it comes to taking my time while I'm reading, so that's a plus. So at the beginning of this year, I read Kingdom of Ash. This was finishing up the Throne of Glass series, starting off the year strong. To be honest, was not as impacted by Kingdom of Ash as I was. I think it's Heir of Fire. I think that's the one that I really loved. Yeah, that one just got me. But I did like Kingdom of Ash a lot. I just didn't cry as much as I thought I was going to. I cried a ton at Heir of Fire. After that, I was still kind of just trying to read fun books, lighthearted books, because, you know, still pretty freshly postpartum, so I was reading Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez and Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I really liked these books. I wasn't sure about her because I'm just a little picky with my romance books. I'm not really a huge romance reader unless there's a fantasy element to it. So reading these books, I don't know, it took me a long time to get into them, but Part of Your World was just like a fun summer romance. I actually really liked the way that the author drew out their backstories and did a lot of stuff about attachment styles. Kind of talked about the way that the parenting had impacted them and is therefore impacting the younger generation's relationship. So I just thought that was a really cool way to tie in like real human effects of the way that we grow up, the way that our childhood affects our adult relationships and the way that our adult relationships can heal the relationships that we had with our parents. I thought that was a really cool take that Abigail Jimenez had on that. And you can also see that as well in Part of Your World, where she's the doctor and she feels a lot of pressure from her doctor parents to be a certain way, but then she meets this guy who's like from a completely different background. So I just liked that the way that the gap was kind of bridged between those two relationships over the generations, which was really cool. I actually switched over to using the app Fable for tracking my reading a couple months ago, so the rest of my books are on there. So I'm gonna pull that up here. Fable is a really fun app. It's kind of like Goodreads. I just like the UI a lot better, and I just think it has some really cool functionalities like book clubs. I'll link my Fable account down below. I'm not super duper active yet, but I want to be more active, and I also want to start a book club there. I think that would be so fun. So follow me on Fable, subscribe, whatever. I don't know what that, I think it's a follow. Anyways, okay, after I read the Abby Jimenez books, I read Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibanez. So this is the sequel to What the River Knows, and it's kind of like a spin on The Mummy. It's very adventurous. They're in Egypt and they're trying to find these artifacts, and in the first book, I won't spoil it, but they find this trove of treasure. Someone captures that treasure, and in the second book, they're trying to find the person that captured it. Very adventurous and very fast-paced, which I loved about it, but I did feel like some of the motivations behind the characters' actions were a little lacking, and the emotional impact of some very big things that happened in the book fell flat because of the choices that the characters were making romantically. I don't know if that makes a ton of sense, but if you've read the book, I'm sure you'll understand. The consequences for really big, really terrible plot points didn't hit as hard as they would have if the author would have committed more to those plot points being devastating. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, I was hoping to enjoy the sequel as much as I enjoyed the first book. Just didn't hit as well for me. I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a heist, a fantasy heist novel. So it's YA. They're all 17, 18-year-olds, and some of them have magic. They live in a land where there are magical people, and they're trying to break into this vault to steal a person who can make a drug that enhances the magical people's abilities in a really dangerous way. So it's basically like a super addictive drug. So it was a really good book. It was really well written. I love Leigh Bardugo. I've read so many of her books, and I love the way that she uses magic, stories that aren't explicitly super magical or the world isn't super magical. Specifically in Ninth House, I think the way that she handles magic is really interesting and cool. But this one, it was similar, where it just felt kind of scary, spooky, and there was like a magical underlacing throughout the story, which is just really fascinating to me. I guess you call that magical realism? No, because the world itself was magical. I need to figure out these two genres. Maybe I'll do like a little infographic with the elevator music in the background. There you go. Anyways, I really liked Six of Crows. I think I would have liked it more if the characters were aged up just a tiny bit, like maybe in their early 20s. I mean, I understand the author's reasoning that kids who grew up on the street, they're scrappy, they've had a hard life, they have to deal with things and grow up a lot quicker. It did feel a little unrealistic to me. 17-year-olds were pulling off the most impossible heist in the world. Next, I read The Death of Ivan Illich, and this was because I saw it on Spotify and I remembered reading it in college and I wanted to read it again. The audiobook itself is only like a couple hours long. It's really quick. Looking for a classic to start off with, this is a great one about a man who is facing his death and coming to terms with the life that he's lived, what he's valued in his life. And I read The Marlowe Murder Club by Robert Thorogood, which is a really cute cozy mystery about these ladies in this small town who come together to solve a murder, and it's just really cute and makes me want to be a part of a little murder solving club, like only murders in the building. Okay, now I'm gonna get into books that are currently in progress and go over those because there's like 4 to be honest, which is kind of embarrassing, but it's fine. Starting off with Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White. I have been working my way through this very slowly because I want to absorb it. I want to pay attention to it, and so far it's been great. I love the way that the story just sets the tone straight from the beginning, feels very gothic, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting through this. I'm only this far in, so got a ways to go, but I'm enjoying it. Also in progress, we have The Nightingale. Nightingale has been really good so far. I am not usually a fiction or historical fiction reader, but I've been really enjoying it because the characters just have so much depth. From the moment we meet them, I feel like I knew them. I knew what they were afraid of, I knew their desires, and had a sense for how the war would change them. So by setting us up in that way, I think Kristen Hanna has really done a great job of giving us a view into how they will be changed throughout the story, and I'm just excited to see that play out. Next, we have A First Time for Everything by K.L. Walter, which I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about reading this. I got this at Barnes & Noble just a couple weeks ago, which I'm trying to show in a vlog for you guys, but I'm a terrible vlogger, so you might never see that, but I'm telling you about it. This has really cute sprayed edges. I love K.L. Walter's work because it's just fun, and everything that she writes is very sweet, and it just makes me giddy, and it's like the sweet kind of love that you felt in high school, you know, when you had a crush, and that's how her books make me feel. And especially the atmospheric setting of all of them is just, it makes me feel so immersed in whatever the setting is. This one is set on like a little homestead, which I didn't even know going into it, but I'm really enjoying it. And then I'm also listening to Riley Sager's With a Vengeance on audiobook. I just like to have an audiobook in my back pocket because it's just a nice thing to listen to in the car. I love Riley Sager. I've talked about him a million times, and all of his thriller books I will read. So we're reading that one, and it's set in the 1950s. It's on a train. It's giving me Clue vibes. I feel like I'm reading Clue because they all have these mysterious notes to show up on the train, and they've all got this past that is not good. So I'm excited to see how it plays out. Whew, that was a lot. We're gonna take a break. So the movies that I watched this year, I went and saw the new Wes Anderson movie with my husband. We went to this cute little movie theater in downtown DC, and it was so fun. So The Phoenician Scheme is about this billionaire who has gotten a lot of death threats, and he's going to turn over the company to his daughter, who's estranged. She's a nun. It's a very interesting relationship. But she thinks that he killed her mother. So they have this very tense relationship at the start, and as they go through these antics trying to get the people in their inner circle, I wasn't sure if it was like family members or just like random people they're close with, but they're trying to get them to invest to fill this gap. They need money. They're trying to get people to give them money. So they're going around doing all these antics. It's just like such a beautiful depiction of what a relationship can look like when you just give the other person the chance to blossom. Just putting in the effort to build a relationship with someone. Of course, Wes Anderson just makes art. Everything he does is just art. It's so beautiful, and I love it so much, and it just makes me so happy that I'm able to go and see his movies. And then I just recently saw The Materialists in the movie theaters, and I have thoughts about that. Right now, I'll just say that it's a fun movie. I'm glad I went and saw it, but there were a few things that were a little bit lacking for me. I just wish that the actors were better. Not better. They did a good job, and Chris Evans for me is surprising me as an actor. I feel like he's becoming better and better in every single movie that I see him in. But the performances were just flat overall, and I feel like the script was a little on the nose for me. But it was beautiful, visually so beautiful, and I'm so glad that they shot it on film because it just shines throughout the entire movie. I also gave a few of the Apple original movies a shot this year. I watched The Fountain of Youth, which was, oh gosh, it was something. It was something. I wanted it to be more than something, but it was just something. I also watched The Gorge, which I was pleasantly surprised. It was fun. It was spooky. But yeah, very interesting movies. Shocked because I feel like these actors are incredible, and the scripts just fall flat every single time. And I think it's because they're these direct-to-streaming movies. Writers are expecting people to be watching them while on their phones, so they're not giving the audience any credit. They're not trusting their audience. They're just feeding it to them on a silver platter. So I didn't quite enjoy them, but you know, which is actually a great segue to talking about creativity as a whole, art as a whole, and just the dynamic between creating content, like what I am technically doing right now, and consuming art, consuming content, just I think being a consumer of media in today's age. And I want to make a longer video about this, but I'll just give you a little bit of my spiel right now. So the soapbox is here. I'll just climb aboard and I'll just tell you what I think. I mean, I do think you should care about being thoughtful about the media that you consume. That's kind of the thesis of this whole channel, actually, is not just enjoying good media, but also trying to think well about it. It doesn't mean that we're only reading these philosophical, like giant books, but I think it does mean that we are intentional about trying to read those books. I think we are intentional about having an understanding of our worldview and our philosophies in a way that we can approach media, all media, with a sense of self, with a sense of core ethics, so that we're not approaching our media, letting it impact us without being thoughtful about the way that it impacts us. So we can enjoy good books, we can enjoy fun books, we can enjoy easy reads, we can watch the Apple originals that the scripts are terrible, and we can still walk away from it having gained something. And sometimes the thing that we've gained is the critical thinking ability, the practice of our critical thinking, that we can watch it and say, okay, the author, the writer, didn't trust me because they told me exactly what was happening in this scene. Or we can read a silly little romance novel, come away from it thinking, okay, maybe next time I'll choose a different book because that just didn't have enough depth for me. Or we can read it and think, okay, this is where this went wrong and here's why. So whatever we consume, even if it's not the best, we can practice that skill of critical thinking, trying to be thoughtful about the stuff that I'm watching and reading. I think The Materialists is a great example of this. So there's the art of it, which is they shot it on 35mm film. It is visually beautiful and there's an artistic creative side to it. And then there is the more tangible philosophical side of it, which I think goes hand in hand with art. I think all good art has a philosophical worldview, a philosophical point that it's trying to make. The point that the movie was trying to make was that we live in a very surface level world where people just want to consume. They want to consume in their shopping, in their food, in their relationships even. So the point that the movie was trying to make was that you will find real and lasting love when you look outside of those things. And I think that is a great point. And I love hearing Celine Song talk about this. And I just love hearing her talk about her movie in general, because you can tell that she's so passionate about her art. But there were a few things that I just didn't love, but that's the art side of it, you know? And maybe there's some objective things there too, but I think the beautiful thing about it is that art is subjective and it can mean different things to different people. So there's the objective things that we can gain from it. This movie is objectively making these points. And there is the subjective. I did not like that some of the lines were very on the nose. I did not like that the actors' performances were a little bit flat. And we just have to combine those in a way that works for us and in a way that holds true to our values and our morals. So that's my spiel about media literacy and critical thinking in the media that you consume. I also think that this is a really freeing way to consume your content as well. So for example, Instagram. I have such a hate relationship with Instagram. Well, I love it in the sense that sometimes there's these beautiful things that I see, and filmmakers are doing some incredible things with short form content, and I applaud them. But typically when I'm on Instagram for prolonged amounts of time, I just fall into such a comparison trap. I'm looking at other actors that I have on my feed that are doing really awesome things, and I have not acted in a very long time. I mean, I took a break to have my baby, and I just am away from my normal community of filmmakers, and it's just a very different season for me. And all those things are okay, and I'm okay with those things. But when I'm seeing those people do it, I'm reminded of why I love it, and I'm just feeling behind. And there's just so many things that I get into my head about. And even like art, like I was saying, those filmmakers that I love, I think they're just doing such great things, but I just feel behind because I'm not making great art like that. So when you're consuming social media or you're consuming content, even on YouTube, even my channel, I want you to think about how it makes you feel. And if it inspires you, if it makes the world around you more magical or gives you an opportunity to look at the world in a better light, I want you to take that and run with it and leave all the other things behind. Leave the comparison behind. You don't need to be reading 1 million books a month. I've literally only read like 7 or 8 this year, but I hope that someone can watch these videos and be inspired to read with intentionality, to consume their media with intentionality, and ultimately that inspiration and that creativity will turn them towards the ultimate creator, will turn them towards Jesus Christ, who I believe is the creator of all things. So that's my thesis on art and creativity right now. I think everything that we consume should be for the purpose of bettering ourselves, bettering our lives, or just adding a little more inspiration and whimsy. I say this often, fairy tales are very serious business. So if you just need to read fairy tales all day, every day to feel inspired, then you should do that. But also it is important to have a solid grounding, a solid foundation of reading. This is what I think this is what it means to be a well-read person, is to have your solid foundation of works that you have read, that you've thought through, and you've formed your thesis of life, your worldview, your ethics, your philosophy. Just have that down, be confident in that, and then go out and use that foundation as a launch pad into all of these beautiful things. You don't have to be thinking deeply about everything all the time, but make sure that you have that solid foundation there. Okay, that's my spiel. I don't know if you watched all the way to the end, but if you have, thank you. That is so kind that you gave me all of this time during your day. I hope you were inspired, and if you've made it this far, please comment like a little fairy so we can be whimsical together. And I hope that you're enjoying some good stories and aspiring to think well about them.